Hi, this is Megan with Beadaholique, and today I'm going to show you how to make this simple spiral sea glass pendant. And I'm just using a sea glass bead and some nice 20 gauge sterling silver wire. So it's really quick and easy. It's a really simple wire wrapping project. The only wrapping is actually a wrapped wire loop, so it's good if you're not hugely familiar with doing all this, or even if you just want a nice simple project. I'm going to start with just about 8 inches of wire. I always like to cut a little more than I need. If you find that you don't need that much, you can cut less. It is not overly cheap wire. Okay, now I'm going to take the clean end I just cut and I'm going to bend it into a spiral. It doesn't have to be perfect either. Actually, first I'm going to straighten it a little bit. If it's really coiled up, you can actually use the nylon jaws to straighten it. If you just need to straighten it a little bit, you can just use your hands. And this is half hard wire that I'm using, so it will take a bend relatively easily. So now, find your nice flush end you just cut. Take some some round nose pliers and just take the very tip of the wire and bend it around. When you're not quite done, I'm going to use regular chain nose pliers because I'm going to hammer this, so I'm not really worried if it gets a little tiny bit marked up, and it will grip it better. So I'm just going to take the loop I made and put it into the chain nose and grip that, and then just start bending the wire around. And I want my spiral to have a little bit of room. It doesn't need to be super tight coils. So you want to rotate it as you bend and keep it the way you want it to look. If you want it to be a little tighter in, you can do it that way too. This is a very kind of free-formed project, so you can do it whichever way that you like best. Okay. Now I have a bench block and a rubber block to absorb the shock, and I'm just using a little mallet for this. I'm just going to hammer all over where the spiral is, and then just right up next to where the spiral is. So just to flatten it out. And then flip it over to the other side. And once you're happy with the hammered look and how that is, and we're done with that. Okay, then we're gonna pick a sea glass bead, whichever one you want for your pendant. I like this one, it's almost a nice drop shape. Okay, decide where you want that spiral to sit, and I think right at the end of where my hammering is great. So I'm going to make a bend with my round nose pliers to help that kind of bend nicely around the curve when it goes to the side of the bead. So that's more of a gradual bend. Then I want the bend where it's going to go into the hole to be more squared off. So I'm going to go ahead and use chain nose pliers and make that bend more squared. Okay, then at that point it's a little bit of wiggling around and making it work. So I'm gonna make this bend in and over a little to kind of center the spiral over the back piece of wire. Then I'm going to try it out. So see how it gaps up a little bit? I'm going to go in and just bend that a little bit more because I want it to sit flat. So I'm just going to use my fingers and bend it down flat and then put it back and see if I like the way it's sitting. And I want it over a little to the side. You can just make it the way you want. So I'm pretty happy with how that is and where the spiral is and all that. So all I'm gonna do now is just create a wrapped wire loop. So I'm using wire looping pliers. You can also just use round nose and chain nose. And I want my loop to sit front to back instead of side to side. So I'm going to make my loop that way to use it as a bail to hang on the chain. And don't forget the bead is glass, so don't be too tight to the bead when you're doing your loop. Otherwise, when you tuck the end in, you might break the top of the bead. You can go ahead and straighten that out, and then you can hang it on a chain. It's a really quick and easy way to really showcase a pretty glass bead.